Hello, it's David. Hopefully a quick one today, but I always say that. This is my Stfm board. I've been doing a little bit of work on it just as a practice to a bit of through-hole desoldering for work that I intend to do a bit later on my Mega SC board. And I don't want to ruin that, so this is a battered old thing. I'm practicing on this. And so far I've replaced the YM sound chip over here, the programmable sound generator. Desoldered that, fitted a socket and put a new one in because it turned out that I had a problem on one of the channels. One of the sound channels wasn't working. That's worked quite well, and I've done a replacement floppy disk lead connector here. They're soldered directly onto the board in the ST series, and I fitted a socket instead. And it's gone reasonably well. I'm not going to say it was perfect. There's the results of my work on the floppy connector, and I think that one's not too bad, given that 50% of those are actually on a ground plane. That's quite hard work. This one here, I've just been doing some cleaning up on it, so it's still a bit damp. This is the sound chip, is it? No, it isn't. Sorry, is this one over here? And you can see perhaps a little bit not as neat as I'd like there. I think I've removed a little bit of solder mask just between those two, but otherwise those are all fairly intact, and I think that's worked reasonably well as well. Although I must say that the socket I fitted was an absolute blighter, and bent a pin trying to get in. It was so tough, and then trying to remove it, gosh, virtually impossible. I don't know why these dual vibe sockets are quite so tough. Like the package was bending as I was trying to take it out again. So I'm not looking forward to having to remove that again, but let's hope I don't have to. But the other thing that I've been thinking about doing is providing a switch to flip between which floppy disk is the internal one. There's normally, drive A. There's normally an internal disk here. Excuse the comically long cable. But that normally sits there, and that's drive A. And you can plug an external enclosure. I've shown it in a video which I'll link up there. You can plug an external enclosure into there and have an external disk as well, which is drive B. But what would be nice, I thought, is to fit a switch so that that can be drive A and the internal one can be drive B. The reason being, this is an original floppy disk drive, and the external one that I have is Gotek. And it would sometimes be nice to boot games off the Gotek and therefore make that drive A. But it is always nice to be able to use the floppy disk drive as A as well if I've got an original disk that I want to use. So this can be done. It's a little bit tricky. Basically, the sound chip here that I just worked on, this is why it crossed my mind. The sound chip here that I've just worked on, two of the pins on here control the drive A and B select. And I think it's pin... I want to say 20. So I think it's pin 20 over there. Nothing doing there. No. Oh no, there we go. It's pin 19. And I think that is for the external. I think that's drive B select. I don't think that's on here. No, and pin 20, and actually it goes through, there's a little logic chip down here. It actually goes through this logic chip, so it's not, it doesn't go direct to there because it goes via the keyboard connector, I think. There we go. Yep, so it's pin 19 and 20 on that chip, and basically if you flip them around, you switch the internal and external drives around. A becomes B, B becomes A. So I could put a little interposer board in there and put a socket and have some kind of switch on there. That's one way of doing it. But I'd raise the height under the floppy. I'm not sure that would fit. Another route is to lift those two legs out and put some cables on there. But these are handily broken out. So that signal that came off the that goes to pin 10 here, which is the drive A select, goes to this link here, which looks like it's had work done in the past. This definitely does not look in original condition. So this is link 39, and this actually controls that drive A select. And up here just above it there's a whole series of links here, and link 29, this W2 jumper, not quite sure what it does. It doesn't actually do an A-B select exactly, but it's I think it does actually, but only for the external drive. So I'm just using the middle there as the external drive. So that's drive B. That's link 29. So if we lift link 29 and we lift link 39, and then provide a way to switch a Rooney, I think we should be able to get what we want without mangling the poor mutilated sound chip any further. Okay, so let me talk you through what I've done here. So I've taken some standard 2.54 pin header here, broken off 2 sets of 3 pins, and just pushed with a back end of the tweezers, just pushed the middle pin up and pulled it out, and then that's what I've mounted in here. So we've got 2 of them here. We've got this one just up here, so this is replacing this link 29. So you see there's 1 pin, 1 missing, 1 pin, and the same just over here next to the floppy cable here. Sorry, I can't get a very good angle on this because the floppy cable is half obscuring it. This is link 39, and again 1 pin gap, 1 pin. Now annoyingly, obviously, because there's that gap in the middle, a standard jumper won't do the job, but my plan is to use some DuPont breadboard style cables here, and what I'm going to do is just going to connect these 2 together. So this should be simply replicating that link 39 down there, and again the same up there, replicating the link 29, and what we're going to do is just test to see that that works. So I've got the floppy disk there, I've got the Gotek down here that's plugged into drive B at the back, and this should be the standard, this should be drive A, and the external one drive B, i.e. the normal layout. So we're throwing the switch now, power's coming on, and we should hopefully see a green floppy light. Yep, there we go, and it's seeking on the disk. I'm going to skip the memory test. Yep, there we go. I don't know if you can hear that terribly. I need to do some maintenance on this drive. Terribly loud clunking, but there we go. It's actually tried to boot off that disk. Let's put a bit of card under there. Okay, drive A, that's where it's just booted off. It's got some of my DSTB1 tools in there, and drive B, if we open that up, that's the Gotek down here. If I can get that in shot. There we go, and that is Civilization version 2.5 apparently. I'm not sure what the difference is between that and the one I used to have at home. But there we go. That is, there we go, Civilization on drive B there. So that's behaving like normal. Okay, so the power's off again. And this time what we're going to do is we're going to try and swap the connections over, the drives over. But I propose first of all that we see which way around these connections are, because I would not trust that the top is the same on both. Oops. Right, so basically how this works is one of these pins goes to the floppy cable and the other one goes off here to the keyboard connector. So let's see which one's which. I'm doing the far one there. Oh, there we go. That goes to the keyboard connector. That goes to the floppy cable. Okay, so top is upstream, if you like, on that one. Okay, now over here, this is slightly different. This one of these will go to the enormous 14-pin DIN at the back there, and one will go over here to the sound chip. That's with the sound chip being upstream. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that one goes to the sound chip. That one also seems to go to the sound chip. What's going on there? Ah, I wonder if the Gotek's powered up. I wonder if it's backfeeding. Let's turn that off. Maybe that's backfeeding a voltage and confusing my my test. So I'm going for the top line over there again. It's possible I hit ground or something. Yep, okay, the top line is no longer making a continuity, and the bottom one, that is. There we go, and that's pin 19, I think. I think it's pin 19 and 20 on this. I'll restate that. The top pin over here, and by top I simply mean farthest from the camera, the top pin over here goes to the big old DIN 14 external floppy connector here. That's the top pin, the one directly adjacent to it. The pin nearest us goes to the sound chip, and that's the select and switch for drive B. On this one down here, the bottom pin, the one nearest us, goes to the cable, and the top pin goes via some logic and the keyboard connector back to the sound chip. So that is the selection cable for that. The top pin here has the role of the bottom pin there. But what that means is if we want to swap drive A and drive B, what we need to do is connect top to top. So that's the external connector going to the sound chip on a different channel, and bottom to bottom. So that is the sound chip B select going to the bottom pin there, which goes to the ribbon cable. And that, I believe, should give us the internal disc as drive B and the Gotek as drive A. So let's point you up at the screen there, and we'll throw the switch and we'll see what happens. Okay, power's coming up. I can see green lights on the external disc. Yep, something's loading. Yep, it's coming off the Gotek. This should be Civilization. That looks like the old Civilization select screen. 4 windows of drive A. There we go. There we are. So that is actually coming off this Gotek here. So the Gotek there is showing Civilization disc 1 of 2. There we go. And so if I open a window for drive B now, that should be the floppy disk, which will have those DSTB1 tools that we saw just a minute ago. There they are. Yes, perfect. So there we go. That's all that's required, and that's actually quite simple. So what's the theory behind this? So this is an old PC floppy cable, and what you'll notice is that, well, first of all, it's got the end that connects to the motherboard, but it's also got 4 disk drive connectors on it. This is for the type 3.5-inch style connectors that we know, and this edge connector type here is for the old 5.25-inch drives. So we've got 2 at the start of the cable. Then we've got this twist. This is 4 different wires. Actually, it's not 4, it's more than 4. Switched around, and I think is that 6? It looks like 6. Physically twisted around before it goes into another pair of connectors. Now, basically, what that means is that this pair of connectors down here is drive B, and this pair of connectors up here is drive A. That might seem confusing, but basically with the PCs, what you did is you defaulted all the drives to drive B, and then if they found themselves on the wrong side of this switch, they would end up as drive A. Now, you can only use 1 of these connectors on either side of the switch, so you couldn't have 4 disk drives on here, but you could have your 5.25 there as drive A and your 3.5 as drive B, pardon me, or vice versa. Now, of course, what happened later on was that the BIOS would allow you to choose whether you wanted drive A to be drive B and swap them around, and so the twist became irrelevant for selecting which was actually drive A and B. But what it did do was it let you choose, it let you basically configure your drives identically and simply swap them on the cable to get the 2 A and B disk drives. Now, we don't have that here in the Atari world. We have a single internal disk and this external one, and it's hardwired. Now, the reason why you've got those, well, I said 4, but actually I think it's 6 cables. 6 cables that are swapped over is because you've got the drive select, the motor select for both of them. So drive select 1, drive select, drive select 2, motor select 1, motor select 2, and I think presumably it's ground. Makes sense. I think every second one is ground, so presumably the others are ground. And if you physically swap them round, it actually mirrors it. So it's not a case that you end up with mixed signals. It actually mirrors exactly in the opposite direction the drive and motor select. So you do transmit drive A on the drive B channel, which is what we were trying to do. Now here we've only used one switch, and that's because in Atari world the motor signal is shared. So there's no motor A and motor B. Motor is sent to both of them, and so it's only that drive select that we have to switch, and that's what these links conducted. And by just doing this little crossover arrangement here, we end up with drive A as the external device and drive B as the internal device. Now the truth is, we probably would not want to do this permanently. You know, the whole point of having the floppy here is that if I actually do want to load up one of my games that's on disk for nostalgic reasons, I would like to be able to boot from this. I mean, the sole reason why you'd invert this in the first place is because it's obviously a lot more convenient to use the Gotek, and if you do have a disk image on the Gotek, it's very difficult to get the disk image back onto a physical floppy. So instead, I'd like to boot from the Gotek, and it means you don't have to switch the actual physical hardware in and out. But in order to do this arrangement here and make this a bit less permanent, the trick would be to introduce one of these. Now this is a very small dual pole, dual throw switch. Now I can never remember which one's the poles and which one's the throws. I think the poles is, how many terminals basically. So you've got a center tap, and then you can go either this way or this way. So that's the dual throw, I believe. And the dual pole is because, well, there's 2 of them, and those are independent channels. So what we can do is we can take some of these wires to these 2 independent channels, and that will be the drive. What's it called? The drive select pins going to the actual disks. So this would be internal, this would be external, for example, routing to the actual ports. And then on one of these channels up here, we would have the drive A select, and one of these channels down here would have the drive B select coming from the sound chip, and we would cross these over to the other opposite corner. So when the switch is thrown, it connects drive A through to external, say, and drive B through to internal, and it goes the other way, and because it's crossed over, we end up with the reverse situation. So it would be coming from this point, which is mirrored to here, so it's exactly the opposite of what we just had. Now this is a nice little switch, and it will fit with a little bit of 3D printing into the hole that's left from the power switch. Because I don't use the power switch, I have this set up this external power supply connector. Obviously it's not in the case at the moment, so that won't that's not obvious, but this is this uses an external supply now, so I can pop this in that gap that the power supply switch vacated. There we go, that's the power supply switch hole, and you can see that switch is nice and small and will fit happily in there. So all I need to do is to print a little 3D printed bracket. I'd like once again to thank my sponsor, PCBWay.com. PCBWay are not only an excellent source of low cost but high quality prototype PCBs, but they also have other services as well. Injection moulding, CNC machining, 3D printing and sheet metal fabrication amongst them. They also have an excellent library of user-contributed projects that you can order or download on demand, and you'll find quite a few of my open source products, and again some of the ones that I've shown on here available there. So do please have a look at PCBWay.com for all of your maker needs. And there we go. Right, let's I might just give that one more go with the IPA, and we'll test that out. Okay, now I have to confess I haven't worked out which way around this should actually be, this switch, but I've got the common center taps going to the the bottom pin down here for this connector, the top pin up here for this connector, and then the other ones are just distributed randomly. And I'm going to throw the switch and see what happens. Okay, I immediately see the Gotek light up. Didn't see a flash over here. Well, okay, that's in external as A mode. Keyboard's still not in. But there you go, it's launched up into civilization. Well, let's turn the power off. Let's plug in the keyboard. There we go. And I'm going to throw my switch. Dramatic. And we'll try again. Any green flash down here? Yes. Here we go. We're skipping the... Yeah, I can hear the terrible crunching from that old disk drive. And there we are, my DSTB tools are loading up. And sure enough, drive A is the real floppy, and drive B, if I open that up, should be civilization. Yep. That's all the civilization stuff, isn't it? Perfect. So I think the only thing left to do is to test it by booting from a external drive B Gotek disk. And I don't see any reason why you can't throw that switch on the fly, so that's what I'm going to do. So let's choose a game. What have I got on here? Anything to... maybe Sensible Soccer? There we go, Sensible Soccer. I can't do Frontier because this is only a 512K machine. Well, I could load the DSTB tools and stuff. Right, I'm going to throw that switch. There we go. And I'm going to press reset. There we go. This is not a very complicated mod. Most people should be able to do this without too much trouble at all. That is the full extent of it. 4 cables and, well, a little bit of a messy switch, but a single switch. And there we go. Internal, external, floppy swap. Probably one of the simplest mods I've done. Catch you next time.